Aloha! I am Sila, and in this video I want to talk about the objective concepts of objective and subjective awareness to inform and introduce those of you who are yet unfamiliar with them. Basically, they have been to me introduced by Elias, but during the last century many people and essences have spoken about them, including Seth, and I think also Carl Jung, and well, others. So it is very much the basis, or what actually was pointed to with subconscious and conscious, well, awareness or part of us. But actually, these terms, objective and subjective, are not necessarily related to the conventional meaning of neutral or, well, absolute and relative, basically. Objective awareness is our awareness that deals with everything that is graspable, that is concrete, that is, in a manner of speaking, abstract. That our outer senses, touch, sight, hearing, smell, that's what smell, taste, are actually inputting as data set or as information that we interpret objectively. And to understand what is meant by that, I have to actually illustrate the other side a bit, or point to it. The subjective is basically the insight, but that is also not quite the meaning of this word. The subjective is direct, precise, not interpreted yet. It is, well, it deals, or it is very much intertwined with our inner senses, and out of those our outer ones emerge, basically. And to understand more the subjective side, you can observe animals or even small children, or plants, minerals, fungus, whatever you find, planets, the sun, and you might understand what resonates with you, because they operate, or they are primarily aware subjectively. That is to say that, for instance, animals, they are barely concerned with the objective. But the reason, I mean, of course, animals have outer senses, but they process from a subjective point, which, when we calm down, we can relate more to them, or they can calm us down. But however, there are, as introduced by Elias, 3 types of, well, human perception modes, or orientations, really, as Elias calls them. We could actually say sexual orientation, because there's always a different kind of relationship between objective and subjective awareness, from the standpoint of objective awareness, of course, because subjectively there is no separation. There are distinctions, but as I said, it is not abstract. Therefore, you can't just draw a line that is already objectified. So there are 3 orientations, and here one of them is actually similar, or a bit more similar, to animals, in that it is primarily concerned with the subjective side. However, that being, well, still kind of far away from the objective side. And the one other one, which is the most common one, the first one that I have yet to name, is called intermediate. And the most common one is actually reversed, where individuals of common orientation are primarily focused or concerned by objective imagery. So naturally they focus on production because that gives them the clearest reflection of what they are doing. And so, for instance, the intermediates, they are precise because they are coming directly from the subjective side. Of course, they are paying attention to what is objectively occurring, but it's kind of with a certain kind of distance, you know. And then there's a different orientation, which naturally closes the cycle, where both are kind of very close to each other and kind of similar in terms of weighting. That is not to say that it's always there in the middle. That is certainly not the case. And that orientation is called soft. And it is defined by being very close to everything, you know. It's not one or the other, it's kind of both. And so being soft myself, it's kind of easy for me to be influenced, but also influence something when I intimately close in on it, on the process and my interaction, as this orientation is mostly about the interaction. Now there's much more material about these orientations, but for now I want to state in this video it's important to understand the objective and subjective side, especially now that our race, our global civilization, or well, population of people are becoming more aware, and that means also to become more aware of our subjective intertwining, or well, really the lack of separation and how we all intersect. How there is of course a very individual reality. Everyone is individually creating their reality through the perception, and this mode of objective to subjective awareness, this relationship plays a huge factor. And so it's important to understand or honor and accept our differences, but also there will be many revelations this century. Many of us will expand at a rapid rate, maybe not constant, but it's increasing. And so that also means a different kind of view or well, approach to understanding what is happening objectively and subjectively, and how both actually relate. And the more we get to the matter of how we actually create our reality, when we tune our perception or change it a little bit, by acceptance of course, but also by, well, being playful with our beliefs and our concentration of energy, then naturally we will also pay more attention to the subjective side, or to, well, for instance, how setting certain goals objectively or targets, let's say I'm choosing a vibrational quality today of ease or of centeredness, then that is always also mirrored by a subjective process. And so both can, we can play around with them in terms of precision and what we actually do. And so there's a lot of freedom to be gained there, and actually that's where the magic happens, when both sides actually meet, from my perspective of course. But of course from the perspective of the other orientations that may not be so necessary, it usually involves always trust and appreciation for who we are, what we do, that we create now.